2025 gave us some of the most memorable moments in basketball history. A blockbuster trade that shocked the sports world. Improbable last-second heroics that defy all logic. And the first father and son duo to suit up together on the hardwood. But what if I told you that was just the appetizer, and that 2026 will be one of the greatest in NBA history? It all starts opening night, with the two biggest contenders in the West. What hasn't been said about these two already? For the Thunder, they sit in a very similar spot to where the Warriors were back in 2016. And I'm not just talking about how both teams were coming off a title and featured the league MVP, but rather how a large chunk of the NBA community views them. Even after the Warriors won the 2015 finals, they still weren't taken seriously by critics and fans. Sure, they had won 67 games the year before, but it took them 6 games to beat a Cavaliers team without 2 of their 3 best players. The common consensus was had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving been healthy, that they would have been world champs instead. The Warriors heard all the noise, and they made it their mission to silence every single one of the critics. They responded to all these fraud claims by erupting to a 24-0 start, and we finished their 2016 campaign with the best regular season record ever. Fast forward to 2025, and the Thunder see themselves in the same position. Instead of being praised as world champions, all the talk surrounds Tyrese Halliburton's injury. What would have happened if he had not gotten hurt? Are we possibly looking at a different champion? Seeing how active athletes are on social media nowadays, I have zero doubt that these guys have heard all this disrespect. And that is scary news for the rest of the league. OKC just recorded the 3rd most wins ever by a team in a single season and are returning nearly all their core pieces. With SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren all signing extensions this offseason. Most of these guys aren't even in their prime yet, and their chemistry will only continue to improve. It's crazy how they're entering the season with the chip on their shoulder, following having the chip on their shoulder. But with this championship DNA mixed with the desire to prove all the critics wrong, and is it crazy to say that we could see something similar to Golden State in 2016? Well, we'll get our first glimpse of it on opening night when they take on the Houston Rockets, the 2nd seed in last year's Western Conference, with a new face leading the way. Cue Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers and players the game has ever seen. Bearing injury, his presence alone inserts Houston as legit title contenders. Even at 37, the man is a bucket-getting anomaly. And you know what the Rockets' biggest weakness has been? Scoring. To me, Durant's arrival is a match made in heaven. For him, he's able to escape Phoenix and have a fresh new start with a competent franchise. For Houston, they're adding a veteran leader that will balance out their youthful roster. This young core has already showcased flashes of brilliance, especially in the likes of Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., and Amen Thompson. And with one of the game's most respected basketball minds in Ime Udoka at the helm, the Rockets look poised to make that next jump. While the team was already on trajectory to soon become title contenders, Durant's arrival speeds up that process. Unfortunately, Fred VanVleet's injury makes this task more daunting, but the Rockets are no joke. They've got the athleticism, talent, coaching, and now, experience. Last season, they lost to the Warriors in a tightly contested 7 games in the first round, and I'm praying that we get a rematch between these two. Houston would be looking to avenge their loss in last year's playoffs, while KD would want to silence the Warriors' critics. Ever since he left the Bay Area, Durant has seen a lack of success from a wins metric. Meanwhile, the Warriors were able to retool and even win the championship without him back in 2022, causing many fans and critics to conclude that Golden State's success in the 2010s was due to Steph and not Durant. But the real playoff matchup I'm praying for is the one we will see opening night. We truly couldn't ask for a better introduction to the KD experience in Houston. Game 1 in Oklahoma City, with the Thunder hosting the ring ceremony in front of their former hometown hero. The man who represented their city for nearly a decade until he decided to leave and join their arch rivals, who is now forced to see that same team raising a banner which they won without him, showcasing that they don't need him in order to win. Man, that's gotta hurt. As much as the NBA has failed their fans in the last few years, they hit on this one. The storylines, drama, and emotional appeal will be at an all-time high. So scriptwriters, if you're listening, please give us 7 games between these two. For OKC, there's nothing they'd love more than to take down KD, especially if in that process they capture their 2nd title and tie him in ring count. For Durant, we've seen how petty he is on Twitter. The media noise definitely has an effect on him, and there's no doubt he'd love to beat his former squad. He has indicated how he feels about both the city of OKC and the organization as a whole. To say that tempers will be flaring would be a massive understatement. What hasn't been said about Victor at this point? Even at just 21 years old, Victor has solidified himself as a top 10 player in the league. His sophomore campaign saw him put up averages of 24 and 11 while shooting an efficient 58% from the field and 35% from 3. Defensively, he's as good as it gets, as his 7'4" frame allows him to guard any position at an elite rate. Before his season ended abruptly due to vein fibrosis, he was averaging a staggering 3.8 blocks and 1.1 steals per game, a stat line that put him as far and away the betting favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Had he won, he would have been the youngest player to ever hoist the trophy. In less than 2 full seasons, Victor has already shown all-time great potential, and luckily for him, he's in a more than ideal position to succeed. He plays for one of the more premier franchises in the San Antonio Spurs, who have added a plethora of new talent to help him. They acquired De'Aaron Fox at last year's trade deadline, which took place right before Victor was sidelined, meaning we only got to see this duo on the court for a total of 5 games. Even with this small sample size, they've shown flashes of possibly becoming the league's most deadly pick-and-roll duo. Along with Fox, the Spurs also snagged Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, the 6'5" combo guard with athleticism off the charts, elite finishing skills, and playmaking ability. His upside has all-star potential written all over it, and if he's anything like San Antonio's previous rookie selections, the league is in trouble. These new weapons could be just what the Spurs need to make that next leap to get into the playoffs. Even with Wemby's abrupt season-ending injury, they still managed to bump their win total by 12 compared to 2023. Seeing Victor paired with this new talent will be highlight heaven for hoop fans, and being able to get our first glimpse of playoff Wemby would be the cherry on top. At 26 years old, Luka Doncic is primed for a true peak season. He's now just entering his prime, but has already displayed he's one of the more talented players in the league. In the last 2 seasons alone, we've seen him put up a 60 in 2020 game, drop 73 points, and make the finals in 2024. But what if I told you that this year would be his best? While Luka has been dominant from a numbers standpoint, he doesn't have much to show for it. Other superstars his age are winning MVPs and championships, while Doncic is stuck looking at an empty trophy case. 2026 is pivotal in terms of a legacy standpoint. He knows this too, and seems to be putting in the work. Throughout the offseason, articles and interviews have been published regarding Luka's physical health. He's appearing in better shape than ever and even graced the cover of Men's Digest. It seems Doncic has taken a more serious approach when it comes to his diet, workouts, and overall health, and it's all thanks to this man right here. In case you live under a rock, the Mavs traded Doncic to the Lakers in a blockbuster trade back in February. One of the biggest talking points as to why Dallas made the trade was their concern behind Luka's lack of conditioning, which honestly is really one of the only glaring criticisms of his game. But what's not lacking is his mentality and approach to the game, and if there's one thing you don't want to do as an opponent, it's to give him a reason to go at you. Luka has already showcased time and time again that he has that competitive dog in him. He's not here to make friends. He's here to play ball, to win, and prove that he's better than you. Nico's comments just woke up a beast, and you better believe he's determined to prove this man wrong. And after being bounced by Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, there's no doubt he'll be out for blood this year. Now that he's had more time to gel with the Lakers and adapt to their culture, all I can say is, buckle up. And moving on to the other side of the coin, how did the Mavericks manage to finesse Cooper Flagg? Even before ever stepping onto an NBA court, Flagg has been must-see TV. His 6'8" frame, matched with his explosive athleticism, made him this year's consensus #1 pick in the draft. Dallas was truly one of the best situations Flagg could have been drafted into. Even as a rookie, the duo pair between him and Anthony Davis could easily prove to be one of the best front courts in the league. Not to mention the new addition of D'Angelo Russell, who will help fill the gap Irving left while being sidelined with a torn ACL. And speaking of Irving, reports suggest Kyrie could return as early as January of 2026, meaning there's a real possibility we get to see this team at full strength. Give them a few months to gel, and this team could legitimately emerge as a dark horse for a deep playoff run. We've only seen 25 minutes of Kyrie and AD on the court together so far, but even that was enough to hype fans up. Imagine the highlights if this team is able to stay on the court together. And the matchup between them and the Lakers would be no short of headlines. LeBron versus his former 2 Robins, Luka versus the city he once called home, D'Lo versus the team that drafted him. Who says no? Ever since his official retirement, Michael Jordan has stayed out of the limelight for the most part, which is pretty impressive considering he's arguably the most famous and recognizable athlete in the world. But this year, he's making his return, just not on the hardwood. It's been announced that this upcoming season will see Jordan as a special contributor to the NBA on NBC and Peacock. While it hasn't been specified what his exact role will be, I'm excited nonetheless. Hearing Michael's take on the current state of the game with the athlete's style of play and overall culture will be a breath of fresh air. He'll be able to break the game down like none other, and even give insight to the mental aspect of some of our favorite players, like Anthony Edwards, who seems to embody many of Jordan's characteristics. Unlike the other major sports leagues, the NBA seems to have a gap between generations. Old heads and new fans of the game are constantly going at one another, but Jordan might be the one to fill that gap. He has the nostalgia factor to tune in the old school crowd and cultural impact to grab the attention of younger fans, who grew up on his sneakers, highlights, and iconic moments. NBC handing Mike the mic will give the crowd the ability to hear directly from the man who inspired their favorite players. It seems like once again, Jordan might be the man to save the NBA. Honestly, I could go on regarding all the aspects that will make this year one for the books. Is this Giannis' final run in Milwaukee? If so, where will he end up next? Can the Clippers stay healthy? With all this other drama taking place, this team is definitely flown under the radar. Can Golden State muster up one last finals run? After acquiring Jimmy at last year's trade deadline, they finished the year with one of the league's best records. Now they've added Al Horford. Could he be the missing piece this team needs to get over the hump? Then of course, there's LeBron. Year 23 and still playing at an all-star level. He could honestly probably play until his 50s, but could this be his final year? If so, is it with the Lakers or somebody else? Heck, I didn't even mention the MVP race. Last year's was one of the tightest in NBA history, and there's a good chance this year will be the same. SGA, Luka, Jokic, Giannis. Do I need to go on? 2026 will be historic for many reasons, but let me know which aspect you're most excited for down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching as always, and until next time, peace.